Nuton and Lola, the Pied Piper's Forgotten Promises. Good evening, sweet listener. Are you cozy under your covers? Is your pillow fluffed just right? Then tiptoe closer, because tonight Nuton and Lola find themselves in a tale full of whispers, music, and a very important promise. The stars blinked over Hudson Valley. Inside the cozy glow of their room, Nuton sat cross-legged, puffing into a tiny plastic flute. He squeaked with strange and funny sounds. He laughed. My music like a duck in a shoebox. Lola, holding her own music sheet, sighed. You're skipping all the quiet parts, Nuton. The rests are as important as the notes. I don't want quiet. I want victory. I want to play better than everyone tomorrow. Wuity, balancing on a stack of pillows, raised its own shiny silver flute and played 3 perfect notes. Nuton groaned. Even Wuity's better than me. Wuity blinked shyly and floated over to give Nuton a pat with its glowing star hand. Nuton slumped. I wish I could play like the piper in the story. You know, the one with the music so magical it made mice dance. Lola raised an eyebrow. Nuton, are you talking about the Pied Piper? His eyes sparkled. Maybe we could visit him, ask for a lesson. Wuity spun excitedly. Lola frowned. Do I even want to know what you're planning? Nuton grinned. Just a little story stroll. Lola sighed. Fine, but if this ends in dancing rats in my bed, I'm out. In a swish of stardust and floating melody, the trio appeared in the glowing curves of the Library of World. Shelves soared like spiraling towers, each aisle humming with its own tune. Books fluttered like sleepy butterflies. Lamps shaped like violins glowed above. Elwie, the gentle old robot librarian, floated down from a glimmering balcony. His glass dome sparkled like a moon. Nuton Lola, Wuity, he said with a smile. Seeking a story tonight? Or a song? Nuton clutched his flute. Elwie, I want to learn from the Pied Piper, just for one evening. Lola added quickly, we'd like to know more about the story. The real one. Elwie's smile deepened. Ah, then follow me. I'll show you how the melody began. Elwie guided them to a circle of cozy floor cushions beneath a mobile of bells and tiny flutes. With a tap of his wand finger, a great book opened on a golden pedestal. Golden pictures shimmered into the air. Once upon a time, Elwie began, in a town called Hamelin, there came a stranger. A man with a flute of polished wood and eyes like starlight. He was the Pied Piper. The images showed a town overrun by rats, chewed bread, squeaking chaos, frightened families. The town was drowning in rats. They nibbled through kitchens, scuttled over cribs. People were desperate. Elwie's tone shifted. The piper offered to help. "A song," he said, "in exchange for a promise." The mayor agreed to pay him. Soft, delicate notes filled the room. The image showed rats swaying, dancing in lines after the piper as he played through the cobbled streets down to the river. His tune carried every rat to the water. Peace returned. Then a pause. But when he came to collect his reward, the town's leaders laughed. "It was a trick," they claimed. "You deserve nothing." Elwie's voice grew quiet. The piper said not a word. That night he played again. This time only the children heard. Golden images shimmered of sleepy faces, tiny shoes on cobblestones. They followed him, smiling, barefoot, out of town, into the forest, then vanished. Some say into a glowing mountain. The page dimmed. Only stars remained. "All except one," Elwie said. "A boy with a limp. He couldn't keep up. He remembered the music forever." Nuton blinked. "But where did the kids go?" "No one ever knew," said Elwie gently. "Not truly." The glowing images faded like dew. Nuton's brows furrowed. "But the piper helped them, and the town lied. Why didn't anyone ask what the piper really wanted?" Lola nodded. "Maybe he didn't want gold. Maybe he just wanted to be seen." Elwie's gears hummed gently. Even the kindest songs can turn bitter when promises are broken. Nuton whispered, "If the children are still out there, maybe we could find them." Wuity's star face glowed. "Sparkle." Elwie bowed his shining head. "There may still be a trail, but remember, entering a fading song can change the tune." "Perfect!" Nuton grinned. "Let's rewrite the ending." Wuity zoomed in loops. "Then step close," said Elwie. "The story is ready." A book opened, glowing with soft golden light. Notes floated from the pages, twirling like fireflies. One by one, Nuton, Lola, and Wuity stepped inside. The moment trio stepped into the glowing swirl of the Pied Piper's story, the library vanished behind them like a sigh in the wind. They landed gently in a narrow cobblestone alley, where every window was shuttered and every lantern flickered with tired light. The sky was the color of cooled candle wax, and the breeze smelled faintly of old wood and something lonely. Wuity blinked and sneezed a tiny poof of sparkles. Nuton looked around, adjusting his satchel. "This doesn't look very musical," he whispered. The alley opened into a village square, not dirty or ruined, but quiet. Too quiet. there were flower boxes without flowers. Bicycles leaned against walls with no children nearby. A bakery sign swung in the wind, but no warm smell of buns or cakes greeted them. A single wooden flute rested on the fountain ledge, as if it had been placed there gently and then forgotten. The name on the old town sign was clear: Hamelin. They passed the toy shop, dark; the schoolhouse, empty. Only a faint hum filled the air, like someone had once been singing here but had stopped mid-note. From behind the shutters, some villagers peeked out with worried eyes. One older woman opened the door just a crack when Nuton waved politely. But when he asked about the piper, she only whispered, "Gone, like the others," and were not allowed to speak of it. And then the door closed again, gently but firmly. At the edge of the village was a stone wall covered in ivy. But when Wuity flew close, the ivy shimmered and pulled back, revealing a mural of glowing lines, almost like painted music. As Lola gently placed her hand on the wall, a soft glow began to flow through the vines, and a faint sound whispered through the air. A melody with no words, notes without singers. From the grass, a trail of soft blue crumbs. No, not crumbs, musical notes began to appear like stepping stones in the mist. They glowed faintly, leading away from the village and into the woods beyond. The children followed the trail beyond the last gate, where the trees began to lean inward as if listening. Birds didn't chirp. Even the leaves seemed to hush as they passed. But the trail of notes continued, dancing gently above the ground, guiding them through a forest wrapped in fog. Soon the trees began to shimmer faintly. Silver bark, lilac moss, golden roots threading across the path. It no longer looked like any forest they knew. It was like the edge of a dream. And there, at the very end of the trail, was a hill of velvet grass. On top of it stood a carved archway made from driftwood, old violin bows, and golden reeds. At its center, a wooden sign hung crookedly, carved with delicate letters, "To the place where children still laugh." Wuity blinked, tilting its little star head. The mist parted gently like a curtain, and a soft light spilled out. Music, distant but sweet, echoed from beyond the archway. Nuton stepped forward. "Come on," he said softly, gripping his flute tightly. "We're close now." And with that, the three friends crossed into the unseen world. Beyond the glowing gate, Nuton, Lola, and Wuity stepped into a dream wrapped in music. A gentle wind swayed flower lanterns on soft strings. Trees hummed low lullabies, and streams trickled in curvy patterns like sleepy silver ribbons. Dozens of children moved through the meadow like drifting dandelion seeds. Some painted clouds, others braided sunbeams into the grass. But everything felt a little too quiet. Their joy was soft, foggy, almost like they were half asleep. "They're happy, but not whole," Lola whispered. "Like the melody's missing," Nuton added. At the center stood a silver gazebo wrapped in vines shaped like music notes. The Pied Piper sat inside, staring at a flute that had lost its shine. "I brought them here," he said, "but I've lost the song that brings them home." He stood, eyes kind but tired. "It's scattered through the meadow," he said. "3 parts, 3 pieces of forgotten joy." The group followed a fluttering music note to a wide field lined with vine-covered fences. Behind each fence stood a first laugh plant, but they had wilted, slouching under drooping petals. The task was simple. Revive the plants by recreating a child's very first, silliest laugh. Each plant had a tiny tag: "Laughed at muddy socks," "Laughed when Dad sneezed into his cereal," "Laughed at a farting turtle balloon." Nuton's eyes lit up. "I got this." He stuffed leaves into his boots and danced like a sleepy chicken. Lola accidentally hiccuped mid-laugh, and Wuity, trying to help, zapped a mushroom and turned it into a sneezing cupcake. The first laugh bloomed back in color, then another, then another. With every belly giggle, a vine curled toward the sky and a glowing note floated into the air. Bright, golden, and free. It swirled toward the piper and tucked itself beside his flute. They reached a quiet hilltop where a patchwork quilt hovered gently in the air, made from squares of glowing memories. But many patches were dull, grayed out. A nearby loom whispered softly, "Stitch what makes a home." Nuton and Lola each held a thread made of light. Lola paused. "Home is when someone waits for you to come back." Nuton gently whispered, "Home is soup that smells like love." Wuity floated over and added a glowing square of a drawing. Nuton and Lola hugging beneath a starry sky. Each patch glowed warmer. Then came one more memory. A child's favorite bedtime story, told by a tired parent who always read the last line with a kiss. That one made the whole quilt lift, swirl, and a second music note shimmered toward the piper. A gently glowing bridge hovered over a stream of slow-moving music. But this bridge had no planks, just gaps where emotions hummed quietly. A sign read, "Each truth placed with kindness becomes a step forward." Nuton stepped up. I rushed my flute lessons. I just wanted to be the best, not the kindest. A plank appeared. Lola followed. I forget to see how hard you're trying sometimes. I just want you to do your best. Another plank. Wuity offered a soft glitter pop and dropped a tiny memory. A moment it had interrupted a lullaby, but learned to listen after. Plank by glowing plank, they crossed. At the final step, a breeze danced upward, and the final music note floated from the bridge to the piper's flute. Back at the gazebo, the 3 golden notes curled like ribbon around the piper's flute. He lifted it to his lips. This time, the song flowed. It was a lullaby that shimmered with joy and longing. The meadow brightened, children blinked, and smiled, truly smiled. And high above, a new arch appeared, strung with starlight. The way home is through promises kept. The final note drifted through the misty meadow like a feather caught on moonlight. The children, each holding a memory stitched by song, looked up, eyes soft with joy. I remember my mom's sunflower apron, said a girl with freckles. And my grandpa's story voice, whispered a boy. Their smiles returned. The piper stood still, calm, gentle. It's your choice, he said softly. Stay in the dream or return to the world that missed you. The children nodded, holding hands. Nuton watched, heart warm and wide. They're going home, he whispered. Down in Hamelin, storm clouds had gathered, but not from rain. Guilt hung heavy in the air. The mayor sat on the steps of the town hall, clinging to a dusty sketch of the village playground. Villagers wandered with empty eyes. Mothers peered through windows. Fathers kept lamps burning all night, just in case. And then the sky bloomed with stars. A glowing bridge stretched from the clouds to the town square. Laughter, footsteps, music. The children were returning, dancing down beams of starlight, arms full of wonder. A hush swept through the village. Then gasps, for the piper was walking behind them, flute in hand, head held high. The mayor stumbled forward, face pale. In his hands were a few coins, some bent, others caked in soil, gathered from every corner of the village. Behind him, other villagers offered tiny trinkets, flowers, and whispered pleas. We were afraid, the mayor choked. We didn't know what you wanted. We thought it was money. We were wrong. Please, forgive us. The piper looked down at the rusted coins and smiled. I never wanted your gold, he said, voice soft as song. I wanted your children to have more than chores and empty plates. I wanted them to laugh, to learn, to be children. A silence followed, heavy and still. Then a sob and another. One by one, the villagers lowered their heads. Some dropped to their knees. And then the children ran forward, sharing stories of magical tea parties, whispering trees, cloud swings, and songs that helped them dream. It was like a hug from the stars. One boy said, eyes sparkling. Lola stepped beside the piper, holding the memory quilt in her arms. The stitched memories shimmered in the village light. This is what the children remember, she said gently. Now it's your turn to remember them. Then, with no warning, the piper raised his flute. He played a melody so rich and warm it sounded like sunlight blooming. The clouds lifted, the square glowed. Lamps flickered on, windows opened wide, and laughter rose from the cobbled streets. Nuton blinked. Is it just me? Or does everything feel brighter? It's not just you, Lola whispered. Even the buildings looked newer, painted in hope. The villagers joined hands, children twirled, and the piper stood in the center, a quiet smile glowing on his face. That night, by the sleepy riverside, the piper sat with Nuton, a silver flute resting across his lap. I used to think magic only came from music, he said, but I learned it comes from understanding. He placed a small glowing flute in Nuton's hands. This one is yours, he said, but it will only sing when your heart is listening. Nuton clutched it close, eyes wide with wonder. I'll use it right, he promised, like you do. The piper nodded. Then the song will never fade. With Wuity spinning sleepy spirals in the air, the stars above the town blinked gently. Lola gave the piper a small bow. Thank you for letting us learn your song. You'll write your own someday, he replied. The library book shimmered, golden light curling around them. And as the music faded behind, Elwie's voice whispered through the wind. Every story finds its rhythm, but the truest songs begin in kindness. In a blink of starlight, they were gone. The world faded in golden swirls, like petals on a breeze. When Nuton opened his eyes, he was back, curled under his cozy blanket, the soft hum of his nightlight blinking gently beside him. Lola was already in her bed, a peaceful look on her face. Wuity floated above, doing a slow, sleepy spin, its glow dim and content. In Nuton's hands, the silver flute, still warm. He smiled, then whispered, I don't need magic to be special. I just need to listen. He placed the flute beside his pillow and tucked in tighter, feeling proud, peaceful, and just the tiniest bit sleepy. The stars outside twinkled like soft lullabies, and the wind that whispered through the window didn't carry secrets tonight, just calm, cool comfort. Nuton's fingers curled around his blanket as the melody of the piper's final song echoed in his memory. A song about second chances, about joy in small places, and about promises kept, not with gold, but with love. So now, as your eyelids grow heavy and your breath slows to the rhythm of the stars, remember, music from the heart can lead the way. Kindness can fix what fear breaks, and sometimes a little boy's wish to learn can bring an entire village back to joy. Good night, little piper. May your dreams be full of gentle songs, dancing lights, and friends who follow your melody all the way to morning.